Hello.
Hello, and thank you for coming and talking to me.
No problem.
I'm Steve, and this is Chatting with Interesting People. And as a special, we're also doing it in collaboration with the Disabled People's Channel. So thank you to you for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me. And yes, my name is Ibrahim. I am, currently I'm a client support worker at Hammersmith and Foodbank. But over the years, I've done different roles across in the charity sector.
We'll get to kind of some of that bit in a moment. You sound like you've got a local accent, but you're not from London, are you?
Nope, no, I'm not. Originally, I am from Somalia. I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia. Moved from there around 2013 to London. And yes, as you say, when I came in 2013, I did not speak English. I did not know the letters, and I had to learn the alphabets.
You said that you had to learn the alphabet. So does that mean that you were, is that Arabic before? Was that?
In terms, as in English alphabets, as in I had to learn everything English when I came here, because even when I started school, I started in year 9, I remember, and first day at school was pretty much weird because I was in this classroom where everybody was speaking English. This, to me at that point, was like, okay, everybody's speaking a foreign language. I don't understand what's going on. I've got books, whatnot in front of me, and I'm like, I don't even understand it. Why am I even looking at this book? And I remember, the first kid that was sitting next to me, his name was Ryan, my friend to this day, and he was like, you know what? We can meet, and him and a couple other boys said, oh, we should give Ibrahim lessons after school.
Oh, amazing.
So then he can pick up the language very quick. And yes, it was very hard. Imagine having friends and they're trying to talk to you and you don't understand them, they don't understand you. Well, of course they don't understand you. You couldn't even communicate a single word to them.
Yeah.
All I knew was yes, no, okay. And that worked very well.
And is it something you picked up very quickly then?
Yes, I think it took me about 6 to 8 months, I would say. I was speaking, not perfectly, but at least I was able to understand and have a continuous conversation with my friends and teachers. I was able to get up and ask and actually find someone to explain something to me and be able to understand whatever that person is explaining to me. And it was very hard.
Yeah, amazing how quickly you could learn that.
Exactly. And also, I think it's just, I'm very good with languages. Not only me, but in my family, we're very good with languages because my parents speak Italian, they speak Dutch, they speak English, and they speak Arabic and Somali. So they previously, before we even came here, my dad speaks so many languages, my mom speaks so many languages. So it's like almost like a given. It was like easy to learn the language. So in order for me to accelerate that, I cut off my other 2 languages that I was fluent in and just constantly just try to speak English and watch English movies with subtitles, music. That's how how you get most of it. And what I made sure was I had no friends who spoke my language, because then you get comfortable speaking your language with other people, then the process of learning the new language becomes slower.
I guess Somalia, most people won't really know much about that.
Yeah.
There's massive conflict, isn't there, and a long run-in.
Yeah. So currently, or previous, back in the days, to this day, there's a lot of conflict going on in Somalia. Not much has been happening, and everything has been at peace the last 4 years, I'd say. And currently they're going through an election, so let's see how that works out.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I've kind of picked up bits over the years.
Oh, yeah.
You picked up English
so
really quickly.
So picked up English very quickly through year 9. By the end of year 9, I would say I was speaking perfect English. Ended up doing my GCSEs during year 10 and year 11. That was amazing. English ended up becoming my favorite subject, weirdly enough. Ended up getting A stars on both English. When I got my results, I was like, this can't be right. I remember literally walking to my principal and telling her, Miss, I think I've got the wrong grades. She was like, because in the school, in the same year group, we had another boy called Ibrahim Mohamed. Me and him shared the same name and surname. So I thought it might have been his. I walked to my principal and I told her, Miss, I think I got the wrong grades or I've got the wrong certificates. And she told me, I don't think so, that's not possible. And she took me to the side and she looked at my grades and she's like, no, this is actually your grades. And she checked her laptop and she's like, no, Ibrahim, this is your grades. And I was just stunned. I remember just sitting down on the stairs, not even on the chair. I just sat down on the stairs. I was like, this is my grades. Well, now I can, well, to this day, I'm still stunned that I've got A stars on both English. I'm not even gonna lie. And yeah, I think real life for me, it started from there when I finished year 11. That's when I started working in the charity sector as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It was so good through kind of COVID in that respect.
Yeah.
Was that people were starting to look out for each other and do it more because they weren't able to go to work, so they were kind of stuck in their areas. And so, yeah, I suppose a little bit before that, there were some of the mental health campaigns that had kind of been dotted throughout, you know, especially trying to get men to speak because, I mean, we don't talk about emotions and feelings and things, and so, yeah, actually being able to open up with each other. But then, yeah, COVID, I suppose, reinforced how important that is. And
I mean, there was friends calling each other that haven't spoken to each other for years. It was amazing. Everyone was calling each other, how you doing, and checking on each other. Not to say that it disappeared now. Yes, it is much less than when at the beginning of COVID, because that time a lot of people weren't working and reaching out to everybody and making sure everyone was okay was the thing. Now it's much less, but it is still there. It does exist where friends and families who never used to do this kind of thing are now almost trying to make it more permanent thing, okay? Just reaching out, just checking out how are you doing. And before, when somebody you haven't spoken to for years reaches out to you, there was a stigma of, oh, okay, what does this person want now? Where now, if someone who hasn't reached out to you for long brings your phone and you see them and you're like, oh, where's this person been? You're picking up, how you been? Where'd you disappear? Because now that's becoming the thing. People want to be more connected to each other than the isolation of everybody just going home. It's almost like everybody's in a tunnel. They just see or do what they do and see what they see. Well, I was working in the charity sector during year 11 as well, but volunteering here and there with a charity called Suffer North East London. And yeah, so I was volunteering with them. And basically, as I was volunteering with them, that's when the Syrian crisis was happening. And then the Home Office was talking about, okay, community groups can get together and they were campaigning to bring Syrian refugees and resettle them into the UK and whatnot. And at that point already, where the organization was based, there was quite a lot of refugees around in the area as well, and asylum seekers. And they were having problem of a language barrier between the organization and the people that they wanted to help, the refugees. So I stepped in as an interpreter almost, trying to translate for these people between the organization and them. And as that was going, I remember one night we were sitting in the organization, and I remember a Syrian man who came and knocked on the door. It was like quite late as well. It was like about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And then we let this man in, and he was like, oh yeah, his wife giving birth, he took her home, doesn't really have money at all, and he's an asylum seeker. And he was like, when I left home, I've told my wife he's going out to bring food and milk for the baby. And he was like, well, been out the house for 5 hours and literally haven't got anything left. I haven't got anything. I've tried everything and I don't have anything to take back home with me. And because Suffer is a food bank, we let him in and we basically sorted out a food parcel for him and whatnot and said to him, all right, come back tomorrow, take this for now and come back tomorrow. And I remember going home that night and just thinking, okay, we already know how many, the demographic of the refugees is growing in the area. And this guy came to us today with this situation. I just remember thinking, okay, if he's in this situation, how many other people are in the same situation? And I ended up staying up all night just trying to brainstorm different ideas and things on how we can actually help this new community that arrived in the area appropriately. And the following day, I sat down in the morning with the director and I said to him, what do you think about this? And I proposed to him that we set up a refugee resettlement program within the charity. And well, he was very excited about it. And he said, well, yes, you can, as long as you do it, you run it and you set it up yourself. And the idea was, okay, I set it up and everything, and maybe at some point I step away and somebody else runs it. But then what ended up happening is I set it up, when every time when somebody sets something up, it almost becomes their child, and I was hanging on to it. I was like, no, I have to make sure everything that this project does is correct, it's right. And we reach everyone that needs help in this community and all of that. Finished my A-levels and then took a gap year to focus properly on the project, to just set it up, make sure it's sustainable, it's got enough money, all of that. Worked across literally worked across different boroughs. We worked across Harrow, Ealing, Brent. We were working as far as Hounslow at some point with different families that arrived into the country. We then ended up partnering with Brent Council, because the council itself had the contract to bring for the Vulnerable Person Resettlement Scheme, which is directly with the Home Office, bringing vulnerable Syrian families. And we were working with them, and our work pretty much entailed everything from actually finding the houses for these people before they even come to the country. I was pretty much their first point of contact. They would see me first, and then I build that relationship or rapport with them, and then that continues until I make sure that kids are in the school, they all registered with GPs, they know where to go for their day-to-day need. If there's an emergency, what they do, okay? Because yes, a lot of these people, what happens is when they arrive and you are their point of contact and they trust you, the moment there's an emergency, you're the first person they call in. I mean, I remember a time where 1 in the morning I was sleeping and I got a call and I was like, what is going on? I pick up and there's this Syrian family and the husband's like, oh, my wife is about to give birth. And I'm like, well, you need to call an ambulance, not me. Like, I can't really help you. It's 1 in the morning, bro. Yeah. And yeah, and stuff like that. It's amazing. And considering the amount of people I've worked with or we've resettled and I've had conversations with, and the amount of stories I've heard, and the amount of people we've worked with from across, literally. We went at at the beginning we were doing the Syrian refugee scheme, but then we ended up working with a lot of refugees across literally the board. I mean, we had at one point, we had asylum seekers coming from Mexico to the country, and then they ended up at our doorstep because, well, we were the only, at that point in that area, we were the only people who were helping refugees. And my specialty was Arabic language, but then at some point I was like, okay, maybe I need to learn more languages right now. Yeah.
That's amazing. You, at such a young age, you just went straight into it, right into the deep end, and built up something that was such a good support. And I guess that's kind of been a theme for you, is that you've come through some of that difficulty, so you know and relate to people that way. Yeah,
let me just go back one step. So the main reason I personally got involved in the charity sector is because I remember 2013 when we arrived, and then we were staying with my mum, and the council ended up giving us a house in Birmingham. We moved away from London, ended up in Birmingham. We went to see the house, and literally we go into this house, and this abandoned house. It has been abandoned, I would say, at least 5 to 10 years. I mean, there was stuff growing out the carpet. Wow. That's how bad it was. And the shock on my family's face, and I was like, my mom and my sisters, and I was like, oh God, no. And the problem there was, that's pretty much when we arrived, and that's when I still didn't speak English. So we come back to London and we go back to the council and we're going back and forth. And the council pretty much basically told us, you guys made yourself intentionally homeless, because why did you come back from Birmingham? Even if the house wasn't habitable, you could have stayed there and contacted the council over there. But then what they're not taking into account is, how are we going to stay in a city where we literally do not know even a single person? You've given us a place where we can't even stay the night, okay? We can't even go anywhere. Like we can't even go to a hotel. We don't know anyone. We can't communicate with anybody. So we're stuck in this place. And I remember my mom saying, no, we're going to go back to London. We have to go back to London because all our family, friends, and everybody else lives in London.
You were saying earlier that when you kind of started school, the guy sitting next to you started talking to you.
And just to go back to that point, kind of one of the main reasons why it took me a very short time to learn English was I have my three closest friends, Karim, Ryan, and Hassanin. I mean, to this day, we're very close friends. These three boys, I mean, quite literally took turns in going home with me and spending 2 hours every single day with me, just so they can teach me reading, writing, and of course swearing at each other, get out of here with your handwriting and all of that. But we got there. I mean, some of them gave up their weekends to come to my house and do this. I mean, you wouldn't see a lot of that. One of the main things is that when these people come, they almost feel isolated from everybody else. Yeah. One, because if you can't speak the same language as someone else, you can't really communicate with them. It's not that they don't want to, but it's the way I see it is more of not ashamed, but they're almost like shy. There's like they don't want to push it to. It's uncomfortable sometimes to go out your way. It's just like trying to communicate with someone, especially when you 30 years old with children, okay, and you don't even understand what this other person's saying to you. It feels intimidating to them. So a lot of people, what they do is they try to keep themselves to themselves or to their community. They just try and find people from the same community and just stick together. And that, of course, is not the best way to go by when you want to integrate with people. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah. One of the questions that always comes up when talking about refugees and asylum seekers is why come to Britain when usually kind of they're passed in so many other countries before?
Okay. So personally, I didn't deal with people who entered to the UK illegally. Majority of the people I was dealing with they were already given visas by the UK government and they've been flown from whatever country they were straight to the UK. But just to give you some sort of an idea of why people would leave France and come here, for example, or they will cross all these countries and come here. Some of them have families here, and that is very big for a lot of people, considering that they've left war-torn countries. And they don't want to be in a situation where, yes, we left there and now I'm in a safe country and I'm just going to sit there. They want to reconnect with their own families. They want to reconnect with the people they know. And because the reality is nobody will risk their life trying to cross the English Channel if there is nothing connecting them to the UK, okay? It just makes no sense. Nobody would do it for the pleasure of it, okay? There's no pleasure in crossing the English Channel to come here. Yeah. For God's sake, I mean, recently when the dinghy drowned and there was about like 27 people died in the process. And people say, oh, why are they leaving safe countries and coming here? Do you not realize all those refugees who are crossing the English Channel would have known about what happened? Do you not think they would say, actually, they know it's not safe, but they are still taking that risk? And if somebody is willing to take that kind of risk to get here, there is something that ties them hugely to this country, that they are willing to take that risk to come here. And most of the times what I've seen is family, to be honest, okay? They either have a brother, a sister, a mother, or some sort of immediate close family here that they're trying to reach. Not to say that I know a lot of people who came to France and ended up staying in France, okay? Some of them in Greece, some of them in Italy. I know a lot of people who just decided, okay, you know what, I'm not taking this risk, okay? Which is a good thing. If there's nothing that ties them, that they need to actually, nothing prompts them that they have to come here, great. And there are people who do that. But there are people also who are hugely connected to this place. And they will just take the risk and try to get themselves here.
Yeah, I guess we don't really hear about the number of people who stayed in all the other countries
because
away,
all we hear is this X amount of number of people crossed the English Channel and came here. But what we also don't hear is when these people come here and apply for asylum, when you apply for asylum, of course you have to talk about it. You will be interviewed and you'll go through a process. You will say, why did you come here? Who you've got ties with over here? And we don't hear any of that because the Home Office will never leave them. They will all be interrogated on why did you come here? How did you come here? And it's not a process of one interview. I know people who done over 10 interviews of the same exact questions.
Wow.
And that's literally just so they can question them to see if there is different story. Are they going to give us a different story today to the last one or to the first one until somehow that process finishes and you go through, or you might not go through.
That sounds a lot more like a police interrogation.
Oh yeah. The Home Office asylum process for the interview, I would say it's worse than a police interrogation. 100%. I mean, if you just have a conversation with somebody who has been through the asylum system, I mean, it's horrific, it's horrendous. No one, I don't wish it on my worst enemies. It's just, yeah.
And was it because of that experience and running your charity for 5 years?
Yeah.
Was that why you then kind of thought, or putting some words in your mouth, but did you then kind of think, okay, I'm doing it like this, but there's so many other issues around that?
Yep, it was just making sure these people know their rights, know what they're entitled to, what's not their right, what's their right and what isn't, what they're entitled to and what they're not, and just making everything clear to them and just showing them, to be honest, how to go about doing things.
I used to work in security for a council, and so I saw a lot of people come in for all the different services, and if there was a problem, then I'd be there to try and help resolve it and get through it. So I picked up quite a lot of the understanding about the benefit process, the housing process, and things like that, and especially for the kind of the more central London boroughs, because it's so overcrowded, there's just not the properties. Then at that stage they were getting sent all over the country.
To this day, to be honest, a lot of people have been sent outside of London, and the reason for that is it's cheaper outside of London. Everything in London is going expensive and the living cost is going up.
Most people think of homeless as being on a street somewhere. Okay,
so being homeless doesn't literally mean being on the street. Being homeless means you have no house, but maybe, well, at least with us, my sisters and my mum were staying with my aunties sometimes, me and my brothers sometimes with friends, uncles, family friends, sofa surfing, literally. I've sofa surfed for 8 months. I mean, I know how it feels. All of it.
And often it then leads to massive overcrowding. You can't feel safe or settled.
Of not knowing whether that person's upset with you. The person you're staying with, them maybe one day they're in a mood and they're not talking to you the way they were talking to you yesterday. And there is this mental debate in your head you're thinking, okay, what have I done? Did I overstep my boundaries? Have I said something I shouldn't have? And all of that adds up. And the reality is, maybe that person is they're just having a bad day themselves. They just don't want to bother you. They're just keeping themselves to themselves. But you going, all these questions going through your head will pile up on you, and it will weigh you down. And a lot of people don't realize that. They just say, okay, if you're homeless, and well, at least you've got a family you're staying with. At least you're not staying on the streets. Yes, I'm not staying in the street in the cold, but it also comes with a lot of burden when you're doing this. So in some cases, people who are staying outside, except for the cold and everything else, of course, nobody should be staying outside, but sometimes it is better for some people to stay outside than to stay with family and friends or sofa surf, because they know how badly it would affect them when they're in that situation.
Yeah,
and having to rely on someone else, because a lot of people actually see it as being independent when they sleep outside, okay, rather than relying on someone else and having to go onto their sofas or room or sleep on their floor or whatnot.
And also, for whatever reason, people don't have that same, some people won't have that same family.
Oh, of course,
bonding.
yeah. I've had a client previously who, all his siblings were there, okay, his sister was there, they were going, his parents passed away, he became homeless, and he was like homeless for about 2 years already, and they had inheritance problems that going on, that they were trying to get money, he was trying to get his share of the inheritance and whatnot, and his siblings were actively trying to block him and just keep him away from them. And all of these people that I've met, and I've seen all of them, they're fairly well-off people. Everyone has a huge house. I mean, if they let him stay in one of their garages, no one would have realized there's someone living in that garage. But this person was literally sleeping in front of the station day in and day out, okay? And you see a lot of people in that situation. I mean, I'm very lucky that I had family and friends who were very willingly allowing me to stay with them. And a lot of people don't have that, and that's a huge problem.
Yeah, and it sounds like this is a good point for me to kind of bring in how my journey kind of comes and meets with yours. So, I used to work in security, as I've kind of mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But then, through injury, and I then kind of had an addiction with alcohol, which caused me a lot of problems. But friends and family were amazing, and they really helped me through that. But through addiction, and then my health got a lot worse, and so through the disability, it meant that I was kind of almost on the edge of some of those issues as well.
Yeah.
So I've had to go through the benefit system and try to figure it out in terms of the different support that's available. And it was through all of that I needed the help with the food bank.
Yeah.
And so once I was starting to get back on my feet, that's when I got involved, volunteering there.
Yeah. So
and then we've kind of that's how
we met.
That's how we
that's how we ended up meeting. Yeah. And as you've seen, you've been through the system yourself. I mean, it's not an easy system that if you explain it to somebody, they will get it and just be able to do it themselves. It's a system where you're almost going in loop, unless if somebody is professional and that actually understands it and they know your situation and can guide you and lead you or show you where to go and what to do. Someone who just stand up now that's been told, okay, go apply for this, they won't be able to know where to go or how to go about it. Yeah. They will constantly just be in that loop. And currently that now we have universal credit. It's completely different to any of the other benefits before. I mean, before you were able to go to the job centre or go to the council and actually find somebody to help you apply for the benefits that you might be entitled to. But now with universal credit and everything going online, one, if you're illiterate, or if you're illiterate or computer illiterate and you don't know how to use a computer properly, okay, you've got a big problem. You can't even apply for the benefit. I need a computer. Okay, they go to the computer and sit in front of the computer. Everything's in English. How do they understand? And you've got stuff like that, and I think it's the small stuff that adds up on people, and then end up becoming huge problems.
Yeah, and it does feel a lot like the system's almost designed to be so overwhelming.
Yeah.
That all the different aspects of it, it just seems too big, and unless you've got somebody who understands it and able to kind of go through it.
Unless someone who's very smart and able to pick on things very quickly, it would be a very hard system for everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things that we both feel is that people come to the food bank at that point of crisis just because, they're there because they need some food.
Yeah.
But there's an awful lot of things around it, and while a lot of charities and organisations in the area they're giving that support and helping people to kind of access us, there's also a lot of other things that people need signposting to, and that's kind of where you fit in, isn't it?
Yeah. So currently, I've joined the food bank,
2 years
January
ago.
2020?
Yeah.
I think January 2020 I started at the food bank. 2 years, it's been 2 years, Steve. The problem we have, actually, yes, they need food, but maybe this particular client, seriously, more than the food, they need their advice, okay? Or they need someone to talk to about their finances. The way they're managing their finances is absolutely not correct, okay? Or actually you will realize this person is entitled to so many different benefits, but they're not getting it. They're not receiving it, or they haven't applied for it because they don't even know they're entitled to any of this. So my job pretty much almost is, when all the clients come in, I sit with them, have a conversation, see what the root cause or the problem that brought them to the food bank is, and tackle that problem and chip it away, almost sit with them, have a plan. The food bank partners with different organizations. So for example, we partner with Anchor Counseling for therapy, Citizens Advice for advice, and we signpost clients to them for advice, debt problems, and whatever they have, and whatever Citizens Advice is able to help them with.
We're very fortunate here to have so many top quality organisations that we can kind of refer people onto.
Definitely.
I know around other areas of the country they don't have the same there.
Definitely, yeah.
Before you came, we would refer people mainly to Citizens Advice or some of the others.
Yeah.
But there was always a few clients who were kind of outside the remit of one of those, or it would be a case of being passed from one place to another because nobody could quite help.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the experience that you had. Through all of this, have you noticed what kind of changes and things have you noticed with attitudes from, especially young people, to disability discrimination and everything like that?
100%. And the reason I say that is because from personal experience, because I remember going through this school, college, and being a young person myself, and being around my friends, and how people used to think originally was like, okay, if somebody is going through disabilities or whatnot, pretty much people or young people originally, or the people I have seen, used to keep themselves to themselves. That person's going through it, it's got nothing to do with me. But throughout the years, I feel like because there has been more awareness of, more people raising awareness about disabilities and mental health, and that has changed the way people think, and especially when you see someone who's got disability in school with you, and you end up becoming friends and whatnot, and then that will make you realize how the real world outside operates. And okay, not everybody is perfect. One, and also not all disabilities are visible, okay? Because I used to have one of my mates has got dyslexia, and he's got other different issues also going around with him, and I've never knew that, okay? Until he told us, we never knew. So there is more awareness being raised, and when COVID came, a lot of young people have stepped up. I mean, my youth club, the kids literally, I remember they set up a food bank at the youth club, and one of the main reasons they set up the youth club, the food bank at the youth club, was because the immediate area where the youth club is based, there's a lot of old people that live there, and a lot of people with disabilities. And what was happening was there was quite a lot of people wanted the kids to volunteer with the mutual aid groups and to help deliver food to the residents. And when the kids were doing that, what they realized was, yes, they're buying this food and delivering it to these people, but what they were seeing was these people are also in hardship. Yes, we're taking the money away from them to buy it, but because they're paying it because it's very essential and they can't leave the house, they have to pay the money and get this food. The surrounding immediate area, what happens is then, if the younger people are aware of the problems, then it's very less likely for them to repeat the same mistakes of the older people before them.
It's basically what we were trying to do with the food bank, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So instead of having, well, there are lots of sites around the area,
yeah.
But it's a central kind of location where other services are provided so that people can...
exactly. So the hub basically provides all different sorts of services, for example, employment support, advice support. Some people come in and use the computers because they don't have computers at home or whatnot. And we've got coffee mornings that we run there. We have art therapy. It's a hub for different services. And it's not only, the hub itself is run by Hammersmith Employment Food Bank ourselves, but we have different organizations that all come to the hub, okay? And we all run our services from there. So it's literally a hub for services.
Brilliant, yeah. And just as we're wrapping up, we would both kind of encourage people to get involved with their community in whatever ways possible. What are the kind of, just a couple of key ways that people can get involved with food banks or just the local communities?
Key ways people can get involved with different organizations, communities, or food bank itself. One, you can reach out to the food bank or the organization by offering your time, volunteering with them. Maybe you want to donate or raise money from the public or donate money yourself, or actually not even that. The easiest thing, raise awareness, okay? Tell other people about this service. Tell other people about this organization. I mean, I know this kid who is currently in year 12, but he's been doing this from year 8, okay? Every year, he holds a huge assembly for everybody in the school talking about the food bank, okay? That's how he's personally involved in the food bank, and that's how he gets involved, because he can't donate because of the financial aspect. He doesn't have the money, and he can't really give up his time because he's a student and he's studying. So what he does is he brings all the students and teachers into the assembly room and talks about food bank and all the organization for about half an hour, and then you'll be surprised. Sometimes teachers become volunteers at that organization, or become donors, or just come down and understand what we do, okay? Or sometimes schools hold food collections for the food bank, and some of those come tons of food they end up bringing.
Yeah, I know that kind of schools, community centres, libraries, churches, just about any kind of organisation. They're there kind of raising awareness in all sorts of different ways for all sorts of charities that make a difference. So definitely kind of if you've got the time, offer it.
Definitely.
otherwise, if you can give something, even if it's, yeah.
Yeah, give something. If you can't, it's not important. You don't have to give something. Give your time if you can. If you can't give your time, raise awareness, tell other people about it.
Yeah.
You might end up telling someone who actually needs the service, and then that person will come and access this service, okay?
Yeah.
Great, that's a huge achievement. We were able to help someone from that you've told. Or someone will come on board and start volunteering with us because they don't want to be very lonely at home, or they're going through all sorts of different things at home and they don't want to be by themselves. So they end up becoming volunteers, or they want to participate in some different ways with the charity. So yeah.
Okay, well, I would love to stay and chat with you for many more hours, and I'm sure we will at other points.
I'm sure.
So thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.
On behalf of me, with Chatting with Interesting People, on behalf of the Disabled People's Channel, and I'm sure the food bank and many other people would thank you as well for everything you've been kind of saying there. So, Ibrahim, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. I'm very honored that you've chosen me to come on, and thank you very much. Hopefully we should chat again.